Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another Cruise with Smooth. Hope y'all doing okay today. So, I want to talk about something that's been brewing in various spheres of discussion for a while that confuses the crap out of me. And being 100% blunt and transparent, I don't know where I come down on this issue. I think that there are strong arguments to be made both ways. Big tech censorship. I understand the ideas behind why they remove certain people from their platforms. I understand why they would remove some people from their platforms. But the one that I want to talk about is Alex Jones. Now, the only thing so far that I think that you can prove that Alex Jones got right was when he was talking about the elitists doing satanic pedophile rituals and things of that nature. That's about the only thing that I can think of that you can point to and say, oh, you got that right. You know, look at Epstein and that whole situation. However, there are far more mainstream people that get things wrong or reverse opinions or will write a smear piece and then buried in the bottom paragraph say that, well, none of this can be proven as of this date, but here's the going theory. And I think that if you're listening to some sources that realizing that, you know, they are conspiracy theorists, and I think that there's I guess the way I would describe it would be an unfair stigma attached to that term. Like, come on, move. Personally, I don't think that many, if any, people have my best interest outside my immediate family, have my best interest at heart. And so, you know, when you get members of the media talking about, you know, we care about those that consume our news and we care about you, or politicians, they're caring about ratings and re-election, respectively. So, you know, you can call that a conspiracy theory, if you will. I don't think that members of the media or politicians really give a crap what I have to say on an issue. I think that a lot of times, if they have something in mind that they want to do, they're going to do it no matter the voices that come out against them, so long as it doesn't destroy their re-election campaign. Call me crazy. And I think that members of the media, they're going to do whatever they're going to do so long as they can maintain ratings. So I do think that the term conspiracy theorist is maligned somewhat, because I think that everybody's got something, an opinion that they hold that you could call a conspiracy theory. that may or may not be that far-fetched. So I understand, like, I've been through a lot of it, so like I understand why a lot of these platforms decided to ban Alex Jones. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I understand, the steps in their lot, them following steps in this progression. Well, this led to that, led to ban. So, but I don't agree with it. And I understand that these platforms are their own privately or publicly held and traded entities. I don't know, which ones are on the stock exchange, which ones aren't. But, take Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter, like that. They're only accountable to themselves or their shareholders, and so, their concern is making money. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. They figured out a way to make a website that's free that you can make money on. But if you post things that go against the grain of a lot of the ideology in the platform, as far as the workers there, I think that you run the risk of running afoul of their censorship board, or the people that have the authority to turn off the account. And that I don't like. The reason why it bothers me is due to the pace at which everything moves today, and due to the way that people, I'm not even going to say interact, I'm just going to say consume news today. There is an argument to be made that in a lot of cases they're no different than your television network provider. And speaking from experience, AT&T and Dish, they do not censor content. As far as, if you got, they'll put up adult content, granted it's behind a paywall, but, if you scroll through, I remember one time I was sitting down watching TV by myself, and I got scrolling through this, that, and the other channels, just, on the guide, and there's adult content. It's behind a paywall, but you can see the titles of what's playing behind these paywalls, and you can push a button and you get billed for it later. Pay-per-view adult content. And they don't really censor anything like that. And you can find, news from both sides of the political aisle. And you can even find conspiracy theories on, my TV provider. You can go to the History Channel and everything's aliens. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories about things that happened 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago in our government. So but I think that due to the nature or the way that people consume a lot of their news and information on things, that these companies have become platforms that are getting the privileges of being treated like publishers when it suits them. As an example, we'll suppose that I start a social media or just a media site, and I'm releasing content that I and I alone write, that I and I alone am responsible for. And I could, say this, that, or the other. Well, if I were to say something that's libelous, slanderous, false, or makes calls, direct, open calls for violence against people, I could be held accountable for what I said. You take that exact same idea, but I open it up and, I make another social media site where people can, post their opinions and write whatever, video whatever. I'm no longer held liable for the content of that. The content creator can be, but I'm not. So you've got companies out there, and I'll give you a case in point. One of the content creators I listen to, Ben Shapiro, he's got other social media outlets aside from just his podcast on the Daily Wire network. So when he's got, writers going at it all the time, writing stuff, and if he puts out, Audi R8, and if he puts out something that's libel or slanderous, his site could be held liable for that. And so he can pull the plug on it in order to cover his own assets. However, the comment section on his videos, he's not liable for. No one that he employs or whatnot comments on that, so he's not held liable for curating and protecting the comment section, because he'd have to have numerous employees to do that, just due to the sheer volume of comments going up in forum boards. Well, you take what I was saying about, social media. If I made my own social media site and just, hey, post what you want, say what you want, do what you want, I'm not liable for anything on that. But you've got companies like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter that are taking down stuff that doesn't necessarily violate the terms of service, but that they come down on the opposite side of the political aisle. The best case in point for that is when Steven Crowder got demonetized on YouTube for, and this is, I think her name is Susan Wojcicki. Don't hold me to that. I believe that's her name. 18-wheeler. She, if it's who I think it is, she's one of the higher ups at YouTube. She released a quote in a statement to Steven Crowder that, you didn't violate the terms of service, but it was borderline. Well, guess what? I live out in the middle of freaking nowhere, and someone can walk up to the fence of my property and not be trespassing, but if they move 3 feet or jump the fence, they're over the property line and they're now trespassing. And when they are trespassing is when I have the ability to confront or be interested in what they're doing, or have say over what they're doing, or involve law enforcement in what they're doing. when they're on the other side of the fence or up the driveway a little ways, I might not like it, but I can do nothing about it. So when YouTube demonetized Crowder for borderline content, in my opinion, they said he walked up to the fence. And we're upset about that, and since we own the entire thing, we own everything inside and outside the fence. We can do whatever we want, but they had to be careful because he did have a huge following at the time. And it's funny, the controversy surrounding that drove higher YouTube subscriptions and highly energized subscriptions to his pay service, the Mug Club. So YouTube, while trying to, we'll show you, ended up giving him a boost that he could have never gotten without what they did. And I can understand setting, terms of service that basically guarantee that you're not going to make calls for violence or out and out defame somebody. But I don't understand this censorship based on point of view, and I don't understand why everything is offensive when you can, okay, if you're going to say everything's offensive and censor based on, he offended me. Well, guess what? There's tons of music videos on YouTube that are highly offensive to some people, and I would wager a week's pay that none of them are going to get taken down because they're offensive. To some people. I think that with the way that social media... Whoa. We got something going on up here. I think that with the way that social media works, as far as, okay, I can choose to be or not to be friends with person X, choose to block them, choose to unfollow them, and kind of curate the content that I see. I don't like this ad, and so I can choose not to even see this ad. I think that, wow, really? I think that people are getting more. That looked like one heck of a ride. A dude lost a tire and ended up in the median. Right side up, and he looks to be okay. There are cops there. I think that people are inadvertently making themselves more thin-skinned. And the only time I've blocked a handful of people on my Facebook, and they're all either spam bots that, there have been rounds where this will happen, where you'll get someone will try to create spam Facebook profiles, and you'll get people making these profiles. It's usually very attractive looking women, sometimes scantily clad, with 2 or 3 pictures and a birth date 25 years ago, and they'll send you a friend request, or hey, I'm just here to meet nice guys, and da-da-da-da-da, and that's like their bio or their first status update. I'll delete and block those, and I did go through when my ex and I split up 7 years ago. I had to block half her family because we split up and they started blasting me on social media and tagging me and stuff so that my friends would see it and, oh, well, he did this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. So I just went through and I blocked all of it so they couldn't tag me in it and it wouldn't show up to my friends as, a status I was tagged in. So, I use that button that feature very sparingly. And someone's got to be an absolute jerk before I will consider blocking them. I've never blocked anybody for political opinion or reasons like that. I think that that's petty. So anyway, I think that the big social media sites are eventually going to turn into their own echo chambers for political thought and opinion, and that Facebook is going to become a haven for left-leaning ideology, and that eventually conservative ideology is going to end up either being removed from the platform or so censored, well, you can't say that offends somebody. So we'll just, we're not going to remove you, but we'll just delete your post or shadow ban your post and not tell you. So I think that they're going to become echo chambers, and you're going to have websites like Locals, ran by Dave Rubin, who charges just basically enough a month to maintain his servers. But I haven't been on it, but my understanding is they charge you to not censor you, and if you're basically they're no targeted harassment, no bullying. And if you're being a jerk, they can just not take your money. So that's kind of what I think the model of the internet's going to move to, is cheap subscription-based sites that, if you have an opinion that's deemed controversial on mainstream social media, come over here. As long as you're not a jerk about it, you're free to say whatever you want, so long as it doesn't call for violence, and we're not going to censor or demonetize you. And he made a place for content creators. So for example, if you want to make a podcast that would potentially get derated, deboosted, demonetized, or get you banned off YouTube, you could go over there, and for $3 a month or $3 to $5 a month, you can be a Locals member. And so long as you don't break those highly basic rules, you're fine. I think that could very well be the future of social media, and I think that that's sad. The reason being is, there are times when people will post something that, they don't know the countervailing evidence against their point of view, and I'll be more than happy to point it out to them, and maybe they'll learn something, and then maybe I'll learn something. Maybe there's a thing I didn't know about why they said what they said, and so I might have to alter my views slightly. Well, if social media in the next 5 to 10 years fractures, or basically you've got a Democrat and Republican site, there's going to be very little crossover, there's going to be very little challenge to ideas, and eventually everybody's going to get so sensitive to opposite opinions that no one's going to be able to carry on a informed, intelligent conversation with someone that disagrees with them without being triggered. So I know that this was kind of a lot of, random thought here, random thought there, but it's something that I'm not necessarily okay with. I wish that, websites like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Google would just out and out say, hey, we don't like this. And, if you post viewpoints such as these, here's the risk that you run on our platform, and we might we might demonetize you, we might deboost you, we might take you off of our platform because of having these viewpoints. And if they did that, that'd be fine. At least they're honest. Or adhere to their terms of service and don't read into it and don't penalize for borderline content. So anyway, folks, that's it for me today. Hope y'all have a good one. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in for another Cruise with Smooth. Talk to y'all next time.